The rain poured in heavy curtains, hammering against the weathered metal roof of Tom's garage on the outskirts of a quiet Montana town. Inside the dimly lit shop, Tom Riley, a lean man in his early 40s, with calloused hands and weary lines etched around his eyes, bent over the open hood of an aging Ford pickup, his movements steady and practiced, the kind born from decades spent mending what others had given up on. A faint AM radio hummed an old ballad about highways and heartbreak in the background, but Tom paid it little mind. His universe consisted of this concrete-floored bay, the hum of fluorescent tubes overhead, the sharp tang of gasoline and grease, and the constant stream of vehicles that carried fragments of other people's lives. Solitude had become his normal, along with the mounting invoices on the workbench, the quiet strain in his shoulders from carrying more burdens than he let show. But tonight felt charged, different somehow. Thunder rolled in the distance, promising change, and with it came the spark of something that would upend his world forever. The door chime rang sharply, pulling Tom from his concentration. He straightened, wiping his palms on a worn shop towel, and saw a woman framed in the entrance, drenched from head to toe, rainwater streaming off her coat. Her auburn hair clung to her cheeks in wet strands. She wore a plain wool sweater and faded jeans, nothing flashy, yet there was an unmistakable poise about her, a calm depth in her hazel eyes that made him hesitate. She seemed misplaced here, like someone from a brighter, busier place who had wandered too far. Still, her smile was gentle, tinged with embarrassment. "I'm so sorry to trouble you this late," she said, her tone even and warm. "My car died about 2 miles back. Your lights were the only ones I could see. Any chance you could take a look?" Tom checked the wall clock, almost 10. He should have locked up long ago, but the red ink reminders of overdue payments on his desk nudged him otherwise. No way he could send her back out into that storm. "Yeah, of course," he replied, reaching for his heavy-duty flashlight. "Let me grab my gear. We'll tow it in." She introduced herself as Sarah, or at least that's what she offered, and her vehicle was a modest 2010 Toyota Corolla with a failing starter, left stranded along the county highway. Tom hooked it up and hauled it back through the downpour, water soaking his denim jacket as he wrestled the engine back to life under the shop's harsh lights. Sarah perched on an overturned crate nearby, observing him with a thoughtful interest that left him oddly aware of his own movements. He wasn't accustomed to anyone really looking at him beyond the transaction. Customers usually wanted quick fixes and lower prices, nothing more. But Sarah asked gentle questions. "How long have you been working on cars? Did someone teach you all this?" Her curiosity felt genuine, softening his usual reserve, and he found himself replying more openly than he intended. "Started young," he said, loosening a stubborn bolt. "My uncle ran this place before me. Always told me every engine has a rhythm. If you listen close enough, it'll tell you what's wrong. Same with folks, I guess." Sarah's lips curved into a small, appreciative smile, the light reflecting in her eyes. "That's beautiful," she murmured. Tom ducked his head, uncomfortable with the praise, and didn't share the harder truths, how his uncle passed suddenly, leaving the garage as Tom's only inheritance, how the bills kept stacking while customers drifted to the shiny new franchise across the county line, how some nights the silence pressed so heavy he wondered if he could keep going. Instead, he poured his focus into the repair, his hands calm even when everything inside him wasn't. By 1 in the morning, the starter was replaced, and the Corolla idled smoothly once more. Tom cleaned his hands and passed her the keys. "Should run like new now. I'll get the invoice ready." Sarah's expression shifted, a flicker of worry crossing her features. I don't have enough cash right now. Is there a bank machine close by?" Tom regarded her quietly. Something in her earnest gaze reminded him of the injured barn cat he'd nursed back to health last spring, the one that now curled up near the wood stove every evening. He'd been taken advantage of before, but this felt different. "Forget it for tonight," he said at last. "Settle up whenever you're able. Just don't vanish on me, okay?" Her eyes widened, shimmering with sudden moisture. "You're really okay with that?" Tom gave a small shrug, rubbing the back of his neck. Yeah, just get home safe. She thanked him repeatedly, her words catching with gratitude, then drove off into the storm. Tom lingered in the open doorway, watching her headlights disappear around the bend, half convinced he'd been naive. He had no idea Sarah wasn't simply a traveler down on her luck. He had no clue her true name was Sophia Langford, heiress to a vast real estate empire, or that she'd set out on this cross-country drive incognito, yearning for authenticity, for someone who would value her for who she was rather than what she possessed. The following day, Tom flipped the open sign as always, bracing for another stretch of routine maintenance and tight margins. Around midday, though, Sarah returned, dressed in a simple flannel shirt and jeans, hair tied loosely, carrying a plain white envelope and a shy smile. "For last night," she said, placing it on the counter. Inside was a check for $600, far exceeding the $180 repair cost. Tom frowned and slid it back. "That's way too much. Job doesn't come close to that." Her smile wavered, but she gently pushed it toward him again. "It's not only for the repair, it's for believing in me when you didn't have to. That's worth more than money." Tom stood speechless for a moment, unused to such open appreciation. He muttered a thank you and slipped the check away, already mentally allocating it toward the overdue parts supplier. Sarah stayed longer than necessary, inquiring about the garage's history, about Tom's days. She listened with real attention, and though caution lingered in him, he found himself sharing more. About the slow bleed of customers to the competition, about the times he patched up vehicles for neighbors who couldn't afford it, about the stubborn love that kept him tethered to this place. He couldn't explain why the words came so easily. Perhaps it was simply how she made space for them. Over the following days, Sarah became a regular visitor. She'd stop by with hot coffee, claiming she was still in the area, or request a small check on her car. Each visit, she overpaid. Each time, Tom protested half-heartedly. He didn't fully grasp why she returned so often, but he couldn't ignore how the shop felt warmer with her there, how her steady presence eased the loneliness he'd grown so used to. One quiet dusk, they sat on old lawn chairs just outside the bay doors, the sky streaked with pink and gold as the sun dipped low. Sarah turned to him. "Why hold on so tight to this place, Tom? It seems like it's costing you more than it gives." He gazed out at the fading light. "It's never been about the profit. This garage, it's the only steady thing I've ever known. If I can keep someone's car running, get them safely where they're going, maybe brighten their day a little, that's plenty." Sarah studied him, her gaze soft and searching, as though she could see the scars he never spoke of. Then she said quietly, "You're one of the good ones, Tom Riley." He brushed it aside with a chuckle, but the words settled deep, thawing a place inside him he'd forgotten could feel warmth. What Tom couldn't see was that Sarah was falling in love, not with any surface appeal, but with his quiet integrity, his generosity without strings, the way he gave simply because it was right. She'd spent years surrounded by people chasing her name, her connections, her fortune. Yet to Tom, she remained just Sarah, the woman whose car had stranded her on a rainy night. The revelation slipped out unintentionally one stormy afternoon when a polished silver sedan rolled into the gravel lot. A sharply dressed assistant emerged, addressing her as Ms. Langford and murmuring about a pressing corporate call. Tom, rotating tires nearby, went still. The clues aligned in an instant, the understated but expensive bracelet she'd always kept. Covered, the effortless way she handled money, the subtle confidence that spoke of a different world. When the assistant departed, Sarah faced him, color draining from her cheeks. "I should have been honest from the start," she said softly. "My name is Sophia Langford. I run a large company. I never meant to deceive you. I only wanted to feel normal, to be seen as myself." Tom's jaw clenched. "Why keep it hidden?" "Because you looked at me like a person," she answered, voice trembling. "Not a paycheck or a prize. Do you have any idea how precious that is? Anger flared briefly, then faded as he met her gaze and recognized the same raw openness from that first rain-soaked night. She hadn't toyed with him. She'd been escaping a life that never truly knew her. He exhaled slowly. Doesn't matter. You're still Sarah here. Tears brimmed in her eyes. Without warning, she closed the distance and wrapped her arms around him. Tom stiffened for a heartbeat, then returned the embrace, feeling the quiet strength of her trust against him. In that instant, he understood he was falling too, not for wealth or status, but for the woman who had truly seen him. Weeks passed, and Sophia shared her idea. She wanted to invest in the garage, not from charity, but from genuine belief in what it stood for. You're real, she told him. You put people first. Let me help you keep that alive. Pride battled gratitude in Tom's chest, but her earnestness won out. He agreed. With her support, the shop flourished. New equipment, fresh paint, a steady flow of work, transforming into more than a repair place, a gathering spot where folks found not just mechanical help, but human kindness. As Tom and Sophie worked together, side by side, their connection deepened, rooted in honesty and the gentle miracle of two people discovering each other exactly when life had left them ready. One golden evening, beneath that same painted sky where truths had first unfolded, Tom reached for her hand. I don't give a damn about the money, he said simply. I just want you. Sophia's eyes glistened as she smiled, then leaned in to kiss him, everything else dissolving until only they remained. Two hearts laid bare, held together by the timeless, unbreakable power of genuine kindness.